Attachment and the Experience and Expression of Emotions in Romantic Relationships, a Developmental Perspective. Begin and develop an understanding of the study's context, we have to look into Bowlby's attachment theory. This theory states that the attachment system serves to protect insecure individuals from potential threats and attempts to stop the successive harmful effects. Based on Bowlby's theory, a person's previous attachment history will have later effects on a person's ability to build and maintain relationships. Bowlby's theory elaborates and develops into various attachment styles that Bowlby has created in an attempt to gain an understanding on attachment patterns. As well as this, we have to consider the strange situation paradigm, which was devised by Mary Ainsworth in the 1970s to observe attachment patterns between a caregiver and a child. Ainsworth helped establish the child's attachment styles by using the strange situation to be able to classify children into the different types of attachment styles. According to Bowlby, there are 4 different attachment styles, but within the context of this study, we will look at 3 of the 4. Firstly, there is secure attachment. This style would show a toddler feeling comfortable to explore and engaging with strangers. Then there is anxious, resistant, insecure attachment, also known as ambivalent attachment. This shows a toddler exploring very little, and the toddler is often wary of strangers, and if the parent leaves the child would be shown to be highly distressed. Finally, there is anxious, avoidant, insecure attachment. This typically involved avoiding or ignoring the caregiver, and yet the child will also not explore much at all. They also do not exhibit distress on separation and have a tendency to turn away from the caregiver. One of Bowlby's principles within the attachment theory is that the child's attachment relationship with their primary caregiver leads to the development of an internal working model. So how one's attachment history of receiving care and support throughout their lifespan shapes their goals, working models, and coping strategies that one uses in an emotion-related event within a relationship. Research has also confirmed that the frequency and intensity of emotions experienced in relationships is a good indicator of how close individuals feel to their partners, indicating that feeling strong and frequent emotions communicates that one truly cares about their partner. Extending on this research, Mukalinsa and Shaver, 2003, proposed a model that builds a general stereotype of how individuals respond in emotional situations within a relationship according to their attachment conditions. So if a person is securely attached when potential threats are perceived, they will remain calm and confident that the attachment figures will be attentive and responsive, whereas individuals who are insecurely attached, they should be more likely to respond anxiously and be uncertain as to whether their attachment figures will be attentive and responsive to their needs. Then finally, there's individuals who are avoidantly attached. They are likely to feel anxiety at a physiological level and would be expected to inhibit their emotions by developing coping strategies. Bowlby 1980 proposed that emotional reactions to relationship events are ingrained from earlier relationship experiences with caregivers and then other significant partners across adolescence and adulthood. This proposed theory has been the inspiration for many longitudinal studies in which individuals have been studied from infancy to adolescence. These studies often look at relationships between early attachment security and behaviour in later romantic relationships, suggesting that there are chronological measures that give an indication of an individual's attachment pattern. Things such as ratings of peer competence in childhood and degree of security with close friends are mediators of an individual's attachment style in a relationship in early adulthood. Previous studies have not examined reports of emotions in romantic relationships as an indicator of these attachment patterns. Previous research has only indicated that the experience and expression of emotions in romantic relationships in adulthood reflect signs of attachment patterns, and this fundamental hypothesis is the basis of the current study. The aim of the study was to test whether and how attachment experiences and relationships encountered during critical stages of development are related to the expression of emotions with romantic partners. It was hypothesized that individuals who were classified as secure in infancy and early childhood would be rated as socially competent, which in turn predicts the experience and expression of positive emotion in adult romantic relationships. The participants consisted of 78 individuals who had been studied from infancy into their early 20s. These participants had been involved in romantic relationships for at least 4 months, and the mean age was 21.6 years. All couples were heterosexual and all had similar socioeconomic background. The target population and subsample was similar in ethnicity as well. Several measures were collected at 3 different stages of the participants' social development. At 12 months old, participants were assessed with the Strange Situation Periodium, where certified raters assessed with the strange situation and classified the infant's attachment patterns as either secure, avoidant, or anxious/resistant. Then in grades 1, 2, and 3, teachers assessed the child's peer competence. At age 16, the participants' friendship security was assessed using comprehensive interviews. In the final stage of the study, the participants were in their mid-20s, and the data was collected through measures such as the Emotional Tone Index and other contemporary relationship observation measures, where the participants and their partners were interviewed and made complete self-report measures that assessed their relationship. This included a problem-solving task which was videotaped and coded by trained observers. There were various processes involved in analysing the data and gathering results. Firstly, there is the adult romantic relationship process measure, which involves 6 variables. There are correlations formed among these variables to gather information on how these variables intertwined and how they give an indication of the participants' attachment patterns. Following this was descriptive statistics, and these are shown in tables 1 and 2. Table 1 shows where the means and standard deviations are presented for all of the major variables included in the structural models testing for the main hypothesis. Table 2 reports zero-order correlations between all of the major variables. Following this was the primary analysis. Researchers tested the hypothesized structural relations between the measures taken throughout the individual's lifespan and the nature and quality of emotions experienced in adult romantic relations in early adulthood, both self-reported and observer-rated. The researcher used structural equational modelling, or SEM, to test their hypothesized mediational models. This is shown in Figure 1, where all 4 structural models are shown. 4 tests of the structural model were conducted, one for each of the 4 dependent variables. These included adult romantic relationship process, adult romantic relationship negative effect, adult romantic emotional tone, and finally the composite score for independent variables. Alternative structural models followed and are now shown in Figure 2. 4 tests of each alternative model were conducted, also one for each of the 4 dependent variables. So there was also adult romantic relationship process, adult romantic relationship negative affect, adult romantic emotional tone, and the composite index for dependent variables. It was found overall that infant attachment, peer competence in childhood, and friendship security in adolescence all correlated positively. The results of this longitudinal study support the core ideas of the attachment theory. Through the assessment of relationship experiences at critical stages of development, it was found that the experience and expression of emotions in adult romantic relationships were linked to attachment patterns developed in earlier stages of life. In particular, there was a relationship between the attachment security of participants at 12 months old and their competence with their peers in childhood. And then strong social competence was followed by this security within friendships at the age of 16, which then in turn also predicted both the expression and experience of emotion, as found through the videotaped interaction tasks and self-reported measures. Thus, this supports Bowlby's theory, as both the experience and expression of emotion in romantic relationships appears to significantly relate to experiences rooted in earlier relationships and stages of social development. However, the results also suggest that earlier developmental stages may have the strongest and most direct impact on the stages that immediately follow them. This is one of the first studies to document that early attachment experiences with caregivers, peers, and friends at different points of social development are chronologically related to both the experience and expression of emotions in subsequent romantic relationships. In a developmental perspective, the findings from this study contribute to the theory that adult relationship experiences begin with early caregiving conditions. These current findings particularly highlight the developmental pathway through which significant relationship experiences earlier in life are related to regular life experiences and the expression of emotion in romantic relationships in early adulthood. It is clear to see that the attachment patterns formed in present life are transpired through different types of relationships throughout one's social development, and particularly in early childhood. From a wider perspective, with an interest in social psychology, it is easy to find that the findings are significant as they suggest how attachment patterns originate and indicate how these patterns can develop and change through critical stages in an individual's social development. However, we must also consider that the research is limited by many factors. The unique longitudinal design of the study limits the researcher's ability to draw causal conclusions about how relationship experiences and mental processes earlier in life impact later ones. It is also limited as the research only gathered life history data of one person in the relationship being studied, which limits having a complete and full understanding of the emotional dynamics of the relationship. A fuller perspective would have been possible if the longitudinal data had been available for both partners in the relationship. However, this cannot be done due to logistical reasons. Nonetheless, it is also important to take into consideration that the study does not imply that the attachment patterns made during early childhood does not unalterably determine future attachment patterns in romantic relationships. To conclude, the current findings support theories and recent empirical findings which indicate that attachment-related mental processes reflect one's early childhood attachment experiences.